My internet access is beyond bizarre again, because basically it's letting me upload YouTube videos, which is good, but it's not letting me do anything else really. I can barely get into internet email. I mean, my email address will barely let me in. It will let me in to a degree where if all I want to use, because I'm on Gmail, if all I want to do is use Gmail for emails, it seems to let me use it. But if I actually want to use the chat section of Gmail, it's like rare that I can get through. Same with Facebook. That's like really touch and go as to whether or not I can get onto it. Now, ironically, I wouldn't really be that bothered about things like Facebook, but there's like, you know, and Gmail, I don't, on a basic level I couldn't really care less, but on a friendship level, when that's like the only vacuum you've really got to use to speak cross continent, yeah, of course I'm bothered. You know, it's annoying, and it's annoying. It's really difficult. Like, on one hand, I'm really grateful that my YouTube videos are getting through, but on the other hand, I'm like beyond annoyed at the fact that barely any of my other communications get through. Or sometimes I can read messages which come through, but I can't respond to them. Or my responses like won't send, and whilst all that's going on, it'd be slow motion. My service will be slow motion in the background. And yeah, only for certain sites, not for everything. Like Gmail and Facebook, they're the two which I get hit on. And like I say, it would be laughable, I suppose, if it was just one. But the fact they do both together, and they do it in this way where, actually, do you know what? It's done in a clever way, because it's done so that whilst I'm saying I can't get online to speak, which I genuinely can't at the time, at the same time my videos are uploading in the background. It's just like such focused targeting that it almost makes you look like, well, I think it's designed to make you look like you're lying. Like, designed to make you look like as though you're saying you can't get online when actually you can. And obviously that, well, not obviously, but in my instance, that is not the case. I have no need or reason to pretend to go online. Like, why? Why would anyone want to, you know? Pretty miffed at the fact that occasional time I do want to speak to anyone, like, personally, it's very difficult to do so. Yeah, I can use my phone on the same line network, I hasten to add. I can use my phone, so like, or on a different computer I could. It's just, you know, it's actually ironic, because if I want to sit on my phone, I usually can get a connection on my phone via the same connection that this goes through, because I obviously will check to make sure the line's like working. And also my internet registers 0 connection problems whilst all this is going on. And yes, I've got like all the protective services in place and everything. It's just so frustrating. I wanted to show you something. Alright, last night I've been getting quite a lot of scratches, and well, I was getting quite a lot of scratches, and obviously, sorry, I spammed the computer, and not obviously, but I was getting quite a lot of scratches last year and start of this year. I don't think I ever publicly released footage of any of them. They're just like scratches, you know, and they're coming not just in the night. I'd just be sat doing like nothing really, just thinking, not touching my body, just like sat, just like I am now. Then I'd feel something, and then I'd look, and there'd be like a mark or a scratch or a series of scratches, but not like scratches we can do. I mean, first off, I never have any nails. You know, I keep my nails short because I work out. Loads of reasons why I keep my nails short, which I don't need to go into on a YouTube video. Secondly, these scratches, they wouldn't make any sense to come from a human hand. and they also wouldn't match up with like any small rodents or anything. They were very odd scratches, and I have got pictures of them, and I'm sure I've got video footage of them. I just never released it publicly. Anyhow, all I wanted to, the reason why I'm mentioning it really is because weird stuff's been happening again. It looked like time just jumped then. Weird stuff's just I'll start again, shall I? Weird stuff's been happening again, and it's kind of started last week. Oh, weird stuff's always happening. But I mean, in this way it started last week, where not only is the microwave weaponry started again, or whatever it is, directed energy weaponry, whatever you want to call it. I mean, personally, look, it's not rocket science to change a frequency and beam it at somebody. It's very easy to direct these things, especially when you're working on the realms within which the powers that be are working. And not just that, but you know, on like demonic levels too, because the two come like hand in glove, so to speak, don't they? And so I've been like burning up on a night time, literally burning up on a night time. It feels like I'm like in a slow cooker or something, which means of course that, well, my hair hasn't yet been falling out again, but by the grace of God it hasn't yet. But I've been on fire every night. And then what started happening last week, and my cat, who it's only just started again, like on such an intense level. I've been really hot on a night time anyway for ages, and I don't mean like your normal kind of hot where you open the window and you cool down. I mean boiling over hot, like nothing that you can ever describe to anyone really, unless they've felt it themselves. Because like when I used to say my head was on fire, it felt like it was on fire last year, when my head was literally on fire, and it was just my head that was being massively targeted. I mean, the worst. Although other parts of my body were really hurt, and my skin was really tender, it was my head that got the main force, and my cat. But it kept changing tactics. Like, I'd make a video and say this is happening, and then it would change. So sometimes my eyes were getting zapped, or my mouth, or my nose, or my head, or sometimes all of them at the same time, and my body. And just recently it sort of started up again, but it's different to last year. Like, again, they've changed tactics slightly, so it's more, I don't know how to describe it. It's similar, it's very similar, but it's different. But very, like, just me and my cat. You know, theoretically speaking, I could have someone else in my house and they wouldn't even be aware of the fact, unless they were like literally like there when it was happening, they wouldn't be feeling the same things, you know. They wouldn't. I've seen it happen. I've had people around, I've stayed in other people's houses while all this has been going on. This is not like, people don't seem to, it's very disturbing. Microwave weaponry, directed weaponry, it's very disturbing because no one's mind wants to comprehend how real this stuff is and how it all happens and how easy it is. And people want to like think, oh well, if you just pray enough then it'll like go away and all this kind of thing. There's like loads, I mean, yes, I know it's demonic as well, but no, it's not quite that simple, you know. If you're being like targeted weaponry wise, it's not that simple. Everyone's minds start to shut down if you try and talk about it to them, unless you've experienced it yourself. People that do listen tend to do so with a little bit of they don't humour you, but they definitely take it with a pinch of salt. That's what I tend to notice. Not everyone, I just mean as a general rule. It's designed so if you talk about it you look nuts or paranoid or delusional. It's very clever. It's very clever, but it's also very real. And unfortunately it takes people being hit and talking out about it and putting themselves on the line and looking a little bit nutty to hopefully draw people's attention to it in a way where, look, I'm not, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not nuts. I think actually everyone's a little bit nutty. But see, I'm talking about it, it's making me start to itch. In fact, I should look at that really, shouldn't I? Purely because that's how it tends to happen. something happens, something will like draw your attention to a part of your body, and then I'll look at it. And now in this instance, that was just an itch. It would appear to be just an itch. But last night, I got drawn to I was awake, and this is what started me off of this tangent. And right, first off, you see this mark here? Well, it all began last week, where this like body damage went from scratches to just weirdness, which was actually here. Now that doesn't look that major now, but that, this time last week, was a gaping massive wound that wouldn't stop bleeding, which I've been stripping that together. That happened. I'm looking out, and I look down, and there's blood pouring. Now when you're around horses all the time, things happen, and you don't pay attention like you should, because you're so used to things happening that you don't necessarily pay attention when things do happen. And I remember when I used to work with the racehorses, and my friend in America would be telling about all the things she was experiencing body-wise, you know, like with cuts and grazes, and I remember thinking and saying, you know, the job I'm in, you don't notice when stuff like that happens, because so much like that happens every single day that you just don't notice when new cuts come or bruises, or if they do, you think it's from work. You don't have any proof to back it up, but you think it's from work. I've got loads of clothes on, by the way, because it's freezing in here. Anyway, the point being, then of course I left horse racing, and now I do notice when things happen, but now I'm in an interesting position because I've got like 1 foot back in the horse world, but on 1 foot, you know, I'm not there that much. I'm not even, you know, I'm not doing very much in the horse world. So I can differentiate now between things which are happening at work and things which are happening with no explanation. So and then the following day, my finger here sliced open and blood poured out in the exact same manner for no good reason. You know, when wounds happen like that, which are pouring with blood and in such tender places, you notice catching them. This isn't like banging yourself and keeping going because where you've banged it isn't as sensitive. This is your fingertips. You know, this is sensitive. We're sensitive here, extra sensitive. These are the kind of places where you just end up pouring with blood and not even noticing it happening. So that was like last week, and then moving on to like this week, last night in actual fact. This one, you can't really tell now. I should have filmed this morning when they were still all swollen. It is still swollen. Like, my hands are awful. I know. I don't need anyone out there to tell me how awful my hands are. I'm well aware of this fact, but I'm not really trying to show you how awful my hands are. I'm trying to show you like wounds which have no explanation. And this one's a weird one because I felt like as though I could remember it happening, but I can't remember it happening. But I feel like as though I should be able to remember it happening. Like as though I banged it against the wall or something. Except there's no context for it because it was last night. No context for this memory, which doesn't properly like slot in. Which suggests to me that I do remember it happening. It just didn't happen in quite this like same reality that within which we're all like in, or you know, or co-consciously aware of being in. Anyway, the next one which popped up was that. Which just looks nothing now like it did last night. Last night it looked like it had like a line going. It looked a bit like a cross last night, to be honest. That was how I would describe it last night. In fact, I've got footage of that, I think. Last night I filmed it when it was happening. And then this morning I have a bath, and the next one to appear is there. So I'll just try and get that on better. I think I'm out of time, you know. But so I'm like, oh my god, you know, this is just beyond a joke. I wonder what that looks like now because it's still itching like crazy, and that's usually what happens when something just pops up out of the blue. You see, there is something there, but it's never going to pick up on camera ever. Like, often it feels like as though you've been scratched by a cat or something which you're allergic to, and my skin will bump up as an allergy, you know, like as an allergy. I was going to say it has an allergenic, as allergic response, and then it'll start to itch, and then you look like, you know, I've got like 2 jumpers on here, and I did rub it before I looked, but as things stand right now, there's not much to show you. You can't see the bump which is developing, and you can't see the fact it looks like one claw mark in the centre of it. Yet, if it does pop up properly, I'll show you. Anyway, I'm over time wise, so this will have to do. It was never going to be actually what it's become, but it's the 1st of March 2016. Thanks for watching.